All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Measurement Talks. We're back in the saddle, and you're going to be hearing from us more often now. We are going to do this show in two segments. We're going to do a quick hits on what's been going on in D2C, get a brand's perspective, get a SaaS provider's perspective, and then we're going to hop into an evergreen topic that is related to measurement in some way. And so today in the news, start us off, everybody's favorite, Facebook volatility. We all love an overspend. That's what keeps that stock price going up. All right, but more seriously, I think it was roughly, when was it? It was in the start of last week, right? Oh, it was it was Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Specifically on Valentine's Day. That said, that there had been some reports of people, complaining about performance leading up to that, just online and in Slack, private Slack communities. I saw people just constantly asking a little bit more than usual. Hey, is anyone seeing lower performance? The cost cap advocates were talking about under delivery, a little bit of over delivery. And on the 14th at approximately 5 p.m. Central Time, through 8 p.m. Central Time, Meta just over delivered. The cost cap accounts or cost cap campaigns were definitely most affected, but I did not see, I also saw this affect the auto bidding campaigns as well. And the way the bug affected, it wasn't just like an overspend. Basically, CPMs inflated by over 1,500%. And so you're serving the same volume of impressions, the same volume as clicks, but the cost just was, 1,000 times more. And so in order to hit the same number of people as you normally would, your delivery, your spend increased to fill that gap.
Oh my God.
And
dude. Okay.
It was nuts.
Okay. Can I ask, I've been on this train for a while now, but the only way to explain this is like, yes, there is an auction, but there is an auction plus a little bit of sauce that Facebook is trying to add in for whatever objective they have, like the objective du jour, basically. Because that's the only way you can get such crazy CPMs, because otherwise an auction should not allow, like it literally should not allow for this to happen.
Right. This is a little bit of a controversial topic. I guess it's a good one for us to kick off here. I've always been a believer that, well, not just a believer, it's proven actually. Meta operates in an OCPM auction, right? It's an optimized cost per mile, 1,000 impression auction. It's not like you're buying radio where you have a static cost. The value of these 1,000 impressions is this much. It doesn't change. This is what you're paying for this CPM. With Meta, it's dynamic. So like my value may be higher or less than your value as a user and what Meta knows about each of us individually. And so to show me an ad, it might cost more or might cost less than showing you an ad. And you're right. I believe there is, you've got the dynamic aspect. And then I think like Meta definitely has these sort of add-ons, if you will, or like bid adjustments, to as like a secret sauce to basically correct whether or not the account should have a lower CPM or a higher CPM. And that's what makes it tough for us as a business as well, is because, when I've got like Sam, the founder, looking at the website, expecting consistency when we're like rolling out a website change, and he's looking at the conversion rates, it doesn't work that way, right? Your CPM and your cost per click
totally
will fluctuate up and down, and thus your conversion rate will fluctuate up and down. So they're almost like tied together, and it makes it super hard. But yeah, I think on the 14th definitely validated that, the CPM aspect of how Meta operates in an auction, it's dynamic. There's no like fixed cost. And it's even then they add, some sort of like multiplier to the delivery for different people.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that one, I think that was a tough one for people, just to like have that happen again. And then I think, it's putting people on the edge of their seats, where they are like just trying to make sure they're more aware and trying to stay on top of what's going on in the ecosystem more and more. All right. So I'm going to segue that into what is going on in the ecosystem more and more. So I think it was a week ago, No Commerce, Veros, Common Thread Collective, and there's one other company put together the D2C. Castmetrics put together the D2C index, and this is like a new. I listened to their spaces on it, and basically it's like a very good overview. My understanding is of a large amount of companies. So I think up to 20 billion of GMV, I think. So it's like basically a 10% view relative to Shopify's view of like spend going through D2C e-commerce, which I think is like, I mean, that's like a good sample of how consumers are behaving and what people are seeing in different subsectors. I mean, first of all, I think these types of collaborative projects are very, very valuable. And I'm like very glad that there are people like Taylor and Jeremiah and others who are willing to like put the work in to actually get these sort of reports out. I was curious what thoughts you had on it, and if you've had a chance to glance at it, what your initial read was.
I haven't had a chance to look at it too closely. I've been following the D2C index where they were predicting future consumer confidence intervals. And I've been watching that closely, right? To sort of like the business that I'm in, it's not a necessity. People can cut back on certain expenses. Mine would definitely fall back into that. And so I track consumer confidence quite closely. That said, for us, things have been like performance has come down just a smidge from Q4, but it's been pretty consistent. The volatility that we've experienced has been mostly self-inflicted from making website changes and just like testing new stuff on our website. Other than that, consumer demand looks strong. I think a little bit of that is driven by our diversification into new acquisition channels as well. We're strengthening up our affiliate program. Influencers are starting to move the needle for us finally. And then TikTok has, over the last 90 days, has been a really key focus where we're heavy up investing. And so, maybe we're an anomaly in that we're just like finding the right cross section of all these tactics finally coming together to move the needle and combat against a sort of waning consumer demand. But yeah, we've been consistent overall. I specifically to the D2C index, I actually just subscribed to take a look and look at the insights more closely. Consumer confidence intervals, that does worry me. Just what I've been seeing be published, everything is just trending down since January. And so that is a little bit concerning, but again, sales for us have been largely flat week over week since the 1st of January. And then Amazon as well has been really consistent as well. So overall, we're sort of bucking the trend, right? Where we're supposed to be seeing a massive downturn, but things are following, pretty consistently year over year and things are following consistently month over month. And then they're tracking year over year as well.
Yeah. So for what little it's worth, across our customer base also, honestly, people have been doing really well.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't want to say this in like a way in which comes across as like derogatory, but I think that I think a lot of this comes down to effectiveness. And I think that those who are more effective and those who are spending more time ensuring that they're deploying the right tactics with the right partners are winning. And I think that the winners are winning more. And I think that, if you don't have the right tactics, then unfortunately the impact that you're feeling is harder, right? And so I think you're just seeing divergence of like winners are going to continue to aggregate and continue to win more. And then the people who are not able to like figure out the rhythm are just going to experience like more and more pain. That's candidly what I think is happening, because I mean, we work with almost like 100 brands now, and like we saw actually improved performance in Jan and Feb. And so I'll just be candid about that. It's like we see the opposite of what all of these things are saying. Yeah, and it's not a small amount of spend for what it's worth.
Yeah, and we try to be very intentional about like not chilling or promoting. But I gotta say, with all the site changes that we've been going on our website, there's one campaign specifically that's been pretty consistently because all the traffic's not pointing to the website. That's actually the Fermat experiences. We've, I don't know, close to 4x our spend since the beginning of the year at this stage. And, there are days where the Fermat campaigns are the top performer. And so given the experiences built around a frictionless, interaction and a frictionless checkout, I think it's another data point of consideration that even though all the signals are saying that consumer demand is decreasing and like people should be seeing bad performance because there's less expenditure, people are buying still, and people are actually buying more on those experiences that are, eliminate as much friction as possible. So just like a subtle plug there, but yeah, no, seriously, we've been able to scale up, and I think a lot of that's also driven by just like, that's sort of like a sandbox. It's an isolation. And so it's the thing that's staying consistent while we're making all these website changes in our funnel.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that from a consumer perspective, I think the one thing that this points to, and then I want to switch a little bit to Amazon, is I think it points to like Meta and TikTok are changing consumer behavior. They are. Like, the Meta shops, like the actual tab might have been taken away, but I think that the consumer expectation of being able to shop in app was not taken away. Same thing with TikTok
Mhm.
shops. It's like now there's a consumer expectation that I have a native shopping experience in TikTok. And then now, I mean, Amazon has always been this way, where it's like when I shop on Amazon, I'm expecting an Amazon like experience. And so I think like that is definitely shifting things. But I want to double click on Amazon for a second because I know, and now we're going to flip into one of our evergreen topics for today, which is if you're a D2C brand, how do you interact with Amazon? And that's a big topic, but there are two dimensions of this that I was hoping you could kick us off on. Pick whichever one you want to start with. One is how do you think about buying your own brand name on Amazon search in order to drive demand? Like what are the things that you consider when you have to make that decision? And then the second one is with the advent of a lot of these Chinese manufacturers selling directly to consumers in the US, Amazon is a big channel for that. How do you think about differentiation against those? I mean, those things are going to happen. And so how do you think about differentiation and the things you want to be able to communicate to the consumer about your product relative to those products? So let's pick one of those first and then we'll save the other one.
Yeah, we'll start with the first one. That one. So historically, we were spending about $100,000 a month, north of $100,000 a month on brand terms for Amazon. And I think it was around October. Yeah, it was around October. I made the call to completely pause advertising on Amazon. One, 80% of our spend was going to brand, right? 100K. And then we couldn't crack category and competitor. So even from an acquisition perspective, it was always non-profitable. We were losing money on those sales. The attribution was horrible. And so I said, you know what, just completely cut it. We need to rebuild the program. Just stop spending on Amazon. And I had this hunch that Amazon Meta ads and all of our ads outside of Amazon were really what was the driving force in creating a halo effect for sales on Amazon. And that intuition was accurate. When we cut off our spend, there was no change whatsoever to Amazon. And I measured it by measuring Amazon as percentage of total Shopify sales. And so, I basically looked at it month over month, week over week. It stayed consistent. And so now when I'm looking at and sort of the two topics are a bit connected actually, because one, there's no desire, there's no like need mathematically, just doesn't make sense right now to advertise on Amazon. If we were, we would have to build a strategy that is really meant to increase sales volume, because the way Amazon works is basically you've got your organic sales ranking, I believe is what it's called. It's either an OSR or BSR. I think it's BSR. And so it's basically your sales ranking. Like what are you in the top 10 or top 5, top 3 for that category? If you're able to get past the top 5, Amazon rewards you. And so you start to get more organic traffic and it creates this sort of flywheel. So the whole Amazon strategy is creating this flywheel of getting enough sales volume, basically sell as many units in a short amount of time to increase your sales ranking, to then kick off organic growth that then creates more sales volume. And once you have that flywheel going, you can start to taper down and bring down the ad spend for Amazon. And so when we think about restarting our Amazon ads, specifically for brand, it's really going to have to be built around getting our sales ranking like getting up in that sales ranking so that we can kick off organic, so that we can actually see a trade-off. As of right now, I'm approaching it very similar to how we approach Google, and that is pay the cheapest CPM and the cheapest cost per click possible. So with Amazon, there's not like, we can get tactical with the keywords and like do some keyword strategies where, something that's like specific to the brand or specific to how the product works. Maybe we absolutely want to show up there. And for other keywords that are a little bit more broad, maybe we just want to like optimize towards impressions or the cheapest click. And so that's probably how we're going to do it. That said, there hasn't been a whole lot of focus, a whole lot of like thinking around it. It's just kind of been like, okay, if we were to turn this back on, we need to make sure that we're not overpaying given Amazon historically for us has not, and Amazon brandeds have historically not driven a lot of incrementality or a lot of incremental sales. And I would rather drive that sales volume through other mechanisms, like sending an email blast and then sending that traffic directly to Amazon, or doing retargeting ads and saying, hey, by the way, we're on Amazon, get the product with Prime shipping. Those are,
So
areas where I have a little bit more measurement.
I was actually have you tried buy with Prime on your website?
Where it's in the roadmap. So we've got some website changes. I think that's like number 3 or number 4. And I want to do that because when you go see our product, we have a very specific pricing strategy with Amazon, retail, and direct. People are willing to pay more money to get Prime shipping. And whenever we have price parity between Amazon and direct, too many of our sales actually go to Amazon, and it kills our Facebook signal. Our ad action signal gets basically bottlenecked or throttled, I should say. And that hurts performance, right? Because then Meta is serving the ads to the right people. It's not seeing that those people are buying. So now it's second guessing itself, and it's trying to course correct something that it thinks is wrong, when in actuality, nothing is broken. It's just they're not buying on direct. And so we want to do the buy with Prime so that we can get the best of both worlds and get some of that signal back. So that's a test. Not sure, if the thesis or the hypothesis will prove accurate, but it's on the list to test.
Yeah, I'm so curious. Just based on the fact that the branded surge was totally non-incremental. Yeah, the hypothesis feels very well founded. So
yeah, and it's not just limited to Amazon. I mean, I think it was Cody Software over at Jones Road. He's testing with House.io, and they ran an incrementality study, match market test, I want to say is what it was, on brand, and they found it to not be incremental either. And when he posted that post on Twitter or X, there were some other people that jumped in as well and saying similar, hey, yeah, I've tested brand, it's not incremental. And so I think that this segues nicely into the second topic. It hurts to not show up first and like to see other brands and knockoff products take your spot. I think there's sort of like a trade-off where maybe it's not incremental, but you still want to show up for your customers and kind of protect the image of your brand so you don't have that association with knockoffs or cheaper, inferior products. And the best thing that we can do when you're managing brand is probably just optimize towards a CPM, get the lowest CPM possible. If those are people that are searching for the brand name, there's already intent, hence why it's not incremental. So rather than paying like a $5 click, pay the lowest CPM and try to pay like pennies, of a click. So segueing into that second topic, one of the things that I've been seeing, and it's not just for Nood, this is, I ended up downloading Helium 10, a browser extension. And what's really cool about Helium 10 is that you can actually see the country of origin for the seller on Amazon. So type in your favorite D2C brand, and it is scary. Like, our product was in a sea of Chinese manufacturers, Chinese sellers. So the very first thing that shows up is the sponsored post video, Chinese manufacturer. Spots 1, 2, and 3 are sponsored posts. They're not organic. They're just 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of them, Chinese sellers buying ads. There's a fourth one, which is number 1 spot, Chinese seller. And they're selling a similar device at like a third of the price. And then you've got us. And we're and like, you just see all these little like flags from China, right? From all the products. And then you see this little US flag, and it's like just us. So it's us, and it's surrounded by all of these manufacturers in China selling direct on Amazon. So it looks like Amazon is sort of the channel of choice for manufacturers. I think it's because it's been easy. They stand it up, limited customer service. You just get the listing, and you beat everybody out on price. So while we are buying the product wholesale from our manufacturer, the competitors in China are manufacturing it, and whatever their cost to produce, that's their margin, right? Or that's their COGS. And then they can basically beat everybody on price because their margins are going to be greater. And that seems to be what's happening. Again, not just the device, it's across the board. I was talking to a founder.
I was just going to say, I think the bigger issue is when you sell on Amazon, they also don't have to do any branding work. They don't have to do any customer support work. They don't have to do anything. And so I think it's even worse than what you're describing. I think like they actually are getting margin advantage from the work that you guys have done on education, on customer support, on branding. And so like, I think my view is, I think the scary thing, and I mean, you're living this, but I think the tough thing with Amazon is like, hey, if a consumer gets all of those things pre-purchase, then how do you show the difference in value post purchase? And like that's ultimately like the very hard question, right? So like I'll give you a good example. I got a Theragun knockoff on Amazon, but dude, the thing is so shitty compared to a Theragun that I was like, I'm gonna have to buy a Theragun. And so it was like, like, yes, was I made aware of it because of Theragun? Of course, right? But now it's like I bought the shitty one, and it's like now I have no choice but to buy the actual one because this thing is like you can just tell how different it is, right? And so I guess like I agree with you, and I wonder how you think about value delivery in the context where somebody has made a purchase and they like may not be happy with that purchase upon buying it from some like knockoff Chinese manufacturer.
Yeah. Well, I think who was it? Was it Viore or Lululemon? One of these athleisure brands, they started to like do a trade-in program, right? Where you bought a knockoff, they'll give you some sort of store credit when you trade in the knockoff, and you can go and get the real thing. I think it's brilliant. When you are in that sort of those categories that you can afford that, it makes a lot of sense. I think at Nood, we could try something similar to do kind of like a trade-in program. Where I'm leaning heavily on now is the business going from 0 to more than 50 million. And this time that it's all been through performance marketing and just being absolutely cutthroat and ruthless when it comes to our P&L and how we think about ROI. But now we're thinking much bigger about partnerships, building, getting clinicals. We just got some clinical trials done and we're getting ready to publish those. Thinking about our offer strategy as well. How do we create more, and our product roadmap as well? How do we create stickier products that people can rally around? And so this is sort of this next evolution of the brand is, getting to that first tranche of growth was all through performance marketing, ROI focused, activation of ads, something very simple, not simple, but like, something that was a bit more black and white. Now we're starting to get into the zone that's a bit more abstract. I think what the team over at Ridge have like just flawlessly executed that partnership with
Marquise Brownlee,
Thank you.
MKBHD, Marquise Brownlee. Yeah.
Yeah, that is brilliant. And when you are in a world of knockoffs and you've got all these competitors, because don't get me wrong, like the Ridge wallet is not a very like technically like complicated thing to reproduce, but when they've got that partnership that they can, stand aside and build that content, it does get the consumer to sort of, it really creates a massive separation between the brand and the knockoffs, right? Where now you start to trust the real thing a lot more. And to your point, maybe if you were to look at the two side by side Theragun and the knockoff that you had, you might have second guessed it. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go and get Theragun because I already know that this thing is not worth it. It's going to break on me. I'm going to waste money and time and energy. But I think that's where brands, like that's where my mind goes. And I think that's where brands need to be thinking as well, to combat this mass growth of Chinese manufacturers going D2C. And it's only going to get worse because I think Amazon's been like the path of least resistance to everything that you said. There's no branding. You just get the listing up, you start selling, and you undercut people on price. But with this growing adoption and improvement of AI, where they can build AI customer service teams, they can build AI design, AI landing pages, AI, just everything can be through AI, and you can break down some cultural barriers where you can just use the AI to adjust your copy and everything. That is going to create this massive wave. I think that I don't know. I don't think people are paying enough attention, and it actually does worry me a little bit. There's how, so we're so like, oh, Facebook ads, TikTok, but it's like, guys, like there is a massive wave of Chinese manufacturers that are waking up and going, I can sell this product to these guys for $50 a unit, or I could, sell it directly to the consumer for $300 a unit. Which one am I going to do? Not everybody's going to do that, but the business savvy manufacturers are gonna figure it out, and they're just gonna
totally.
Go DC.
Yeah. And I just had a quick.
Sorry, Temu scares me because Temu is that. Temu is like the Trojan horse where it's directly connecting our consumers with the manufacturers. So it is like, but yeah, there's a massive wave of shift going.
The one good thing about Temu is like the products are shit. Like, I mean, it's like, it's like you get, and because you're creating that association of products with Temu that are like shitty. So it is, I mean, that's the good thing about it. It's like, I think for them to get out of that hole is going to be basically impossible because like everybody buys essentially disposable products on Temu. Like
Yeah.
that's how everybody who I know who shops on Temu thinks about the products they buy. They do not think about them as like products that they want to buy for any amount of durability. I wanted to quickly comment on the AI like copy and imagery and things like that. So for our like for my day job, we have the SaaS company, and one of the things we do when we pitch people is we show them like either a similar brand or things like that, and we're like, what if we just made fake brands? So like let's just say I was pitching you, and I just made like a fake like hair removal brand, right? Dude, you would not believe how good these look. So we had our like head of product design just do this like as an exercise. It's like, hey, can we create a library of fake brands and do these things look amazing? Amazing. We've created like so many fake, like again, obviously we don't sell any products, but literally with just like ChatGPT, Midjourney, just like a handful of these things, you just combine them, you create incredible assets. You create like logos and colorways and like the whole thing. It took him an hour per brand.
Yeah.
An hour. Okay. I mean, look, this guy's obviously very effective with these tools, but I mean, it is mind numbing how quickly you can stand up something that looks absolutely amazing and would like, it fooled like people in our company that these were fake. Right. And so I think like this combined with, yes, like manufacturers being aggressive from China, I think in like 2 years, we're going to see just a massive wave of like companies selling direct from China. And so, yeah, I think any amount of brand differentiation is like super important at this time. I mean, I'm excited to see how you guys do it with Nood, honestly. I mean, actually, you guys have the benefit of you started with extremely differentiated advertising. Like the brand
Absolutely.
is super playful, and it's like you guys have a big advantage. But yeah, I think otherwise
We're
it's like a very
memorable.
hard thing to do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very memorable, and we see it, now where we'll get tagged in comments. Someone will share, like, we'll be complaining about a terrible experience at European Wax Center, or a gentleman named James by Love on the Spectrum, Netflix's show. He was sharing his hair removal grievances, and like we just get like a swarm of people tagging us, saying, "Hey, you guys should partner with this guy, help him." Better. So we're starting to and that's the goal, is like we need to be synonymous with the category. Like we need to be the category. And so that's sort of the drive or the goals for 2024 that's going to carry into 2025. Just like, let's start building that moat. We have a decent one already, but continue to strengthen it, because man, I've been paying attention to it, and it's been like, I think over the past 6 months, there's been a sort of an acceleration of Chinese sellers getting more involved. And it's not just in the device space either. I was going to say earlier, I was talking to a founder that's for a skincare brand. I don't want to mention because, he doesn't know. I don't want to share the name without his permission, but he was complaining to me about basically Chinese manufacturers formulating, reverse engineering the formulations for his skincare brand. So he has like 20 different SKUs, lotions, moisturizers, sunscreen, et cetera, et cetera. And they're even reformulating, stuff that requires some sort of chemical engineering and formulation to it. So I don't think anyone is safe for this. Maybe food and beverage is
Oh my
potentially
god.
safe, but skincare, device, anything that's hardware or even chemical is up for some sort of disruption. And to your point, people are starting to realize that Temu is the quality is shit. But think about like Shein's presence in the economy, and what that has done to retailers like Forever 21 and Macy's and Nordstrom, right? Like you're always going to have some people that, yeah, it's shit, but hey, it still makes sense for them economically. Like some people will buy from Shein, they'll wear the shirt once and they'll just go buy the shirt again once it breaks down, and that has had some economical impact to retailers like the ones I mentioned earlier. So it's just it's a little bit of annoying, it's a bit of a distraction, and I think there will be some impact, but Brands need to build a bit of a moat there with creators and partnerships and other ways to stand out.
Awesome, dude. Well, this was an awesome episode. All right. We will see you guys next time. We're going to follow this format for a little while, and we're also going to try to bring on some guests to talk about specific topics. So we will see you in the coming weeks. Have a good one, everyone.